Okay, time to put this back on. And on this, got that up, got that pushed up, and generally there's a little sleeve in there. I know it's still in there because that little sleeve goes into this concaved area. See how it's kind of concaved in there? That fits up there, and the little sleeve underneath this nut fits in that before I tighten the plastic. And on this, there's it's hard to see, but there's a lip there, and that acts as a sleeve, and it's kind of concave and fits up in there. So we're just gonna lift this back up in there where it was before. I gotta get it down, swivel it back over there. I want to make sure that that's all the way up there snug, okay, before I tighten that up. There it goes. And you know what? This one here, before I do it, it used to have something here. They might have put some pipe dope on that or something, but it looks okay. Lots of times you shouldn't have to do anything to this. But if you have some Teflon tape, now's the time to put your Teflon tape on, and you would wrap it around there. In fact, I don't know if I have any with me or not. Let me go look and see. This is, and you know, I shouldn't need any Teflon tape, but you never know. This has not been pulled off for years. And the idea is you tighten this up, and if you don't put any Teflon tape, you might want to put a napkin, paper towel down, run your water for a few minutes to see if it's going to drip. If it does, chances are it's leaking out through your threads here, okay? And then you'd have to pull it apart again, get your buckets, catch your water, take this off, and then wrap this with your Teflon tape. But for the sake of argument, I'm going to see if I have any Teflon tape. Even if this is not leaking, you'll know how to do the Teflon tape and all that kind of stuff. And I'll be right back. Let's see if I can find some Teflon tape. I had to dig a little bit, but here I go. Got some Teflon tape. You can get this at the hardware store, of course. Okay, so now I'm going to take this very thin tape. You got to be careful with it so you don't overlap it. Okay. Okay. And I've got to put it around this thread. Does it matter which direction you go? Heavens, yes. It does matter. The nut is going to go this way as I tighten up the nut. So the last bit of the Teflon tape, as I'm wrapping this around, I want it to go the same direction so that when I tighten this up, it'll actually tighten the Teflon tape up and not loosen it. Okay? Now I'm going to put it on. And you might have to think about it for a minute and see if you're going the right direction. Am I going the right direction? Yes. Because see, when I break it off, it's going that direction and the same direction that I'm tightening it. I want to make sure that I don't get this tape any lower than the bottom edge of the threads. If anything, I'll let some of it stick up above the threads, not below, because I don't want it to mess up my connection. Okay? I can line it up there. And I put it on. You can put it on, see there was two twists all the way around. That's probably enough. Okay, if you're in a question, put another one on. Okay, so we're just gonna have 3. And now I'm gonna hold that, pull it off like that. Hold that flat, and put it on there. Okay, you see there? Got the Teflon tape on. That should ensure that this is not going to leak, right? And if I really wanted to, I could put Teflon tape around this top one, right? It goes up into this nut. But chances are that I'm never going to need that because the water is going to go through this pipe and that is going to be way down in here, right? So if this were to back up, let's say, and if this nut wasn't tight, if you had a stopped up sink, the nut wasn't tight or something, yeah, you could get some leakage out of here if your threads are bad or anything, but these are fine. So I'm not going to put anything up on the top, but on the bottom, it makes sense to do that, right? Okay, so now that I got that, I want to make sure that clips up in there and tighten that up. And I don't care if I can see the top of the Teflon tape down there. That's fine. Okay. Before I tighten that all the way up, I'm going to make sure I can get the top. That's fine. Hopefully I'm not getting in your way. Get it tight by hand. And I'll get this bottom one tight by hand, and then I'll give it just one little turn with my channel locks. Now on some, they have the little tab sticking out. You can get your thumb right there and kind of crank down on it, but you know, this one doesn't have it, so I'm just gonna do it like this. And in some instances, just hand tight is fine. Okay? You don't want to tighten it up too tight, but I'm going to take my channel locks just to give you the full Monty, and I'm going to bear down on it. I'm just going to turn it a little bit. I didn't turn it much, did I? Less than an eighth of a turn, a 16th of a turn maybe. That just ensures me that I got it snug. I could really wail on this and tighten it up more, and you think, okay, I need to get it tighter. I can do it. And pretty soon you strip the threads or you crack the nut. You give it a hairline crack, and then it loosens up the nut, and then it tightens up the nut, loosens up the nut, or you're not even sure if it's cracked. And all of a sudden, you've got water down underneath your sink, or you've got a mildew smell after a few months after doing your sink, cleaning it. Okay, that's all I'm gonna do. I only turned it a little bit there. Okay, I think I'm done, by Joe. Okay, now let's get this water back on. I gotta clean up the sink and everything. This should be fine now. Look at that go. We're gonna pop this. I'm gonna let that run a little bit. And if you wanted, after you run it, we're gonna open that, and then you can put a paper towel down there or something and check for leaks. Like I got it popped up, it's popping up nicely. Oh, music to my ears. See, this is actually popping up higher too. And maybe, just maybe, the last person who worked on this, and I think it was me, but I never took this apart. They might have had this hooked on the other little hole, so when you pop this up, it was only popping up hardly any. Did you remember that? And it's kind of coming down. It's kind of loose, but it's in there. I can't pull it out. And that gives you all kinds of room there. Before, it didn't pop up that high, did it? I think that was an issue too, because a little bit of hair in there got it clogged up, and then it was angled back at an angle, so when he popped it up, it was only coming up a little bit, and the bottom of this was hitting down at the edge, and where that rubber gasket was, it was hitting on the rubber gasket a little bit, and I could tell if I just, before, when there was water in here, after I cleaned it the first time, before I pulled it all apart, I moved it just a little bit like that, and it flowed easier. You remember that? But I wanted to do the extra mile anyways. That way I'm giving you added benefit of other things that it could be. And you saw the different sludge that we cleaned out of this. was able to take the pop-up valve out all the way, clean that off, put it, and because I did all that, when I put it back in, it went in the right hole because there was 2 holes on that before. See how high it's popped up? When I pull it, it goes down all the way. And if yours doesn't pop down all the way, it might not have anything to do with the popper. It might have something to do with this. Because you can see under here, see it fits on a rod with different holes in it. And it's got a little kind of like a spring-loaded goodie on there. See a metal deal? You could take that off and you can adjust up higher, down lower, whatever. They happen to bend this up. Usually this is just straight down. And if yours isn't popping down all the way, maybe you have to adjust this to one lower or one higher. And a few times I did that before, and the top of this part here has a little head on it, and I found sometimes that head might be hitting up above here, and maybe it needs to be relocated around a pipe, a water line, or maybe it's in the way. Maybe there's a little piece of wood up there that it's hitting that you have to tighten, or you have to notch out or something to get it pulled up all the way. I mean, there's different things that can happen. Okay, so now I can run the water. I can run the water for a couple minutes and shine a flashlight down here. If this were to be dripping, chances are it would be dripping around this nut underneath it, and then it would run down and it would probably drip right there. You can shine a flashlight on here, see if any water's coming around. I feel pretty confident that nothing is going to happen. But first thing first, you got to make sure that this is dry down here. Remember, I had my bucket. I had my bucket down here, and there was water on the bottom of the container and stuff. So you want to make sure this is 100% dry before you do your test. Now you can take a paper towel. You just set a paper towel right there if you want. You know, that will tell you once and for all, do you have any drips or do you not have any drips? Because if you have a drip, you'll see it on the paper towel. Okay? Let's pop that up one more time. We'll have to wipe all this before you get all done. Don't tell somebody, okay, I'm fixed, everything's done, and leave a mess down there. I'm going to wipe this whole area out. I'm going to wipe around the sink, up on top of the sink. I did some work over in the tub too. If you want to see that video, I showed how to pull that apart, how to unclog that if you do have a clog in the tub. So I've got to wipe that down, and then I've got to put all the stuff back underneath the sink. And I'm at my mother's, and she had all kinds of junk down here. And so here's a tip for you. When you pull everything out of the sink, try to mimic as you put it up against the wall. I've got it in the other room. Try to mimic stacking it in the same way that you took it out of here, so that when I get ready to put it all back in there, I'm going to have it exactly like how my mother wants it. Okay? Look at that. Is that unclogged or is that unclogged? Oh, that is so sweet. If you had a plumber come out here to do that for you, how much do you think he would charge you? Probably 125 bucks. That's my guess. It could be more, it could be slightly less, but it's going to be a hondo one way or another. Okay, at least $100 probably. And it's simple, easy things. You got a little bit of Teflon tape, pair of pliers, pair of channel locks, and they have the channel locks in about 3 different sizes. I usually get like the medium size, and that usually helps me with anything I need. You get one too small, and then you can't get it around the nut maybe. Okay, and I've got my bucket, my knee pad, and my zip it. Okay, that's all. That's pretty much all you need to fix something like this usually, okay?